Okay, so tonight I really want to invite everybody to share along with me. I may say something that you're thinking, that didn't work for me, or you have something to add about how you made that thing work even better for you. So I really want to leave it open for everybody to share a little bit more, because this was a real memory lane for me. I used to do a marketing support group, and I called it a marketing support group, and it would be 10 sessions. We would do it every other week, and then we would meet for, about a term. And the whole idea of it was for us to form a community to be each other's support group. And I never thought of myself as the teacher of that. I felt as the facilitator of that, because usually with any group of people coming together, there would be 2 or 3 who had been doing their artwork as longer than I, and there was always people who were much more expert in certain things than me, website design and understanding platforms and blogging and all of those different things. There often were people who were much better at me, and so then I would, and have them share what their experiences were. So definitely feel free to share a little bit more than just sitting there. And so if I'm going too fast or you want to ask a question, go ahead and interrupt too. But I'll try to keep it moving. I'm really going to do just a snapshot about marketing tonight. Basically, what is marketing, and trying to put the starving artist to rest. So one of the things, how many of you, the very first artist lecture that we had here, Carrie Starbuck talked about your artist statement, your elevator pitch. Did people go home and write elevator pitches? Yeah, some. When people ask you, what do you do? How many of you say, I'm an artist and I do blah blah? Fantastic. That's really the first step here, because yeah.
And a great place to practice it.
Uh-huh.
Every time you go through Dutch Brothers,
Uh-huh.
you tell the kids what you do.
Ah.
They love it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, so that really is the key, is practice making perfect. I mean, because we can all be kind of timid, and that's a really great way just to practice it. So I just want to put this up. What is marketing? It's really just telling people about our work. It's not advertising. Advertising is a part of that. It's not just having a website. It's not just, all of those things are part of marketing. But one of the key things I want you to all get used to doing and saying is talking about your work, what it is you do, and why it's unique. I always fell back on how I made things, because I make my pottery was hand built, it wasn't thrown on a wheel. So that was a little different than the norm for people. And then one of the things that I said, putting the starving artist myth to rest. The reason why we market is so we can actually make money and have a successful business with our art making. And so I'm gonna encourage everybody here to actually think about what your financial goal is for your business. And it may just be for the first year, 1 year out, 5 years out, 2 years out. But I really encourage you to do this, because the marketing all makes sense. If you have a goal and you're gonna say, I want to make $10,000 selling my artwork next year, you're not gonna spend all your time just frittering about. You're gonna start looking for ways to actually make that happen. So I would choose a money goal, and then I like to also encourage people to choose some goals that are goals related to your art business in specific and positive terms that may not be art money related. When I was working as a potter, at first I just wanted to make, I just said, I just want to make pottery that people will enjoy. But it wasn't until I set that financial goal that I realized, okay, if I want to make $10,000 a year, I have to make X number of pieces, and I know I'm not going to sell every single piece I make, I'm gonna have to make double that or triple that to sell. So it kind of gets you started that way. Then keeping some really basic records, income, expenses for your, you got the whole talk about taxes and finances last time. And then later on, this is what I'll do every day, week, month. We can come back and talk to that a little bit later. So this whole slide presentation, I'm going to make available to Claire to, as a download if people are interested. So, so if you don't want to take copious
So where
notes.
will we get the link?
She'll share it. Yeah. If you sign up on the,
Oh, okay, she'll share it. with the
she can send it back out. So back in '89, after my first, what I considered my first successful art sale at the Summer Showcase, I came home and I said, I'm going to try to make, next year I'm going to make $10,000 selling my pottery. And I also made this goal, I'm going to get my work featured in Ceramics Monthly, the trade publication for potters. So those are my two goals in '89. And this was the most fantastic art marketing that I could do at that time. And you can see it's like photos, and they didn't always have great backgrounds, so I'd cut them out and paste them. So you just start with where you are. This is not that professional looking, but at the time I thought it looked pretty good, and at least I had something to share with people. Had my name, I was saying to people, I make beautiful ceramics. It shared my contact information and then just a little bit about it, so people could see, I'm making vessels for flowers. So the main thing I'm going to,
Did you do that as an ad, or did
This
you
is
send it in as a submission?
I made this as a handout to have at art fairs or at any place I was where people wanted, this was before you could get cheap business cards.
Okay.
This was my business card, per se. And I even went so far as to then create a price list that said wholesale or retail prices for these different things. And I had some for each of the different lines that I made at the time. But I just wanted to show you, start wherever you are. You got to get the word out. So it may not be that great in the beginning, but do something that helps share with what you do. The next thing that I'll really emphasize is great images. This is not the best image, but it was a fun photo, so I used it. And that means clean backgrounds. Don't take pictures like this that have all, you can't even see really what's going on there. Crop your photos, do good cropping, There's different ways that you can crop. I mean, see how much bigger this looks, just cropped a teeny bit than that other piece?
Did you build your own light box for that?
I do have my set up in my studio, and the shadow is still a little harsh, but again, at the time, this was as good as it gets. Proper lighting, and also, flashes are not good, just washes and flattens everything. No pets. So I have sat on juries where you get the professional artists, and I'll encourage you, if you can afford it at all, get professionals to take your images for you, or take the time to set up a good lighting system so you can light up things. If you make small works, they now make these little small desktop lighting studios that are really fantastic.
They're like $50.
Yeah, they're really inexpensive. And I can share some other ways to get around that. But if you're trying to get into galleries and trying to get into art fairs where you have the potential to make $5,000–$10,000, invest in good images, because the $100–$200 it may cost you to get those images, if you can get into a couple shows that year, you'll get it back. But I sat in on juries where I wish I had some of these images now. One of the shows I sat in on, it said, 5 images of your work. All 5 images came up, and they had pottery sitting on a picnic table in their backyard. And everybody just burst out laughing, because it was just like, they didn't get, what they were trying to do, sharing their work. So first rule of marketing, great images. Then you want to have some kind of bio or again, this is where you would hone maybe a little bit more than just your elevator speech. So on this one, I started saying beautiful, compelling pottery that comes to life with use, and a little bit more about me, and then where they could find my work. So it's nice to start pulling out this kind of information, and then basically you have, if you've got the great images and you have this kind of bio or statement about your work and why it's different than everybody else's pottery, then you've got the makings of your website. So those are two really good starts for marketing. So one of the things I'll encourage you to do when you're thinking about your work, a lot of times I'll talk to artists and I say, well, what kind of pottery do you make? Or what kind of painting do you do? And they'll say, well, I do portraits, I like to paint bugs, I like to paint nature, and well, you can tell this artist has a pretty distinctive style. You don't know where he or she is coming from with their work. And so I encourage everybody to start thinking of marketing your work as a body of work. So this artist, if they just stuck with baby and bugs, that could be the name of their shop, Baby and Bugs, but then why the cherries? Why the balloons? This is another example. This artist has a really, they are creating artworks that are artworks of the oddities or kind of off the cuff, off the wall, and so they have a distinctive style, but it's not a strong body of work. They're doing portraits and oddities and framed all weird, and even if they had taken all these images and just framed them the same, that would have helped with this so-called body of work. So you can see that with 4 strong images, you can tell a picture of what your body of work looks like. This is an artist who I adore, Jenny Mendez. She does these crazy painting on her pottery. And these are, I think, some prints of that. And again, here's an artist who it's a lot of different colors and a lot of different styles, but it all fits together. So figure out a way that your body of work fits together as a body of work. So now that you've got your great images, you've got your about me, or your statement, artist statement. Now we're going to start telling people about our artwork. And so some of the basic ways that we can start doing that is obviously with business cards. Whenever you're out and about talking to people, have a business card in your purse. Obviously the website's another one. Websites are the modern business card. But it's nice if you have your website on your business card, because not everybody's going to remember your HTML, URL, whatever. So websites are a really good thing. When you're trying to get into a gallery, often the first thing they'll want to know is what's your website, so they can look in and see what is the body of work that this artist is doing. Wear it. How many people here make wearables at all? Yeah. And do people stop you and say, "Did you make that?" Yeah. That is a great way to market your work. I'm often wearing the jewelry that friends of mine have designed, and I always get asked, "Did you make that?" And I say no. I have to say no. But knowing how many times people ask me about it, I know that is a great way to market. So jewelers are lucky that way, and fiber artists, and I guess if you do 2D, you could put it on a T-shirt, wear it that way. I think one of the best advantages artists have now is everybody is carrying a portfolio in your pocket if you have a smartphone. So please do make a little album of your latest images and curate it. So people coming up to you and saying, Marilyn, show me your latest earrings, and you're flipping through all the grandkids and relatives and picnics, and if you have an album ready to show people, then you can just show them right then and there. So Instagram is another great way to be sharing your images. And then there's advertising, free and paid advertising. I'll talk a little bit about that. So business cards, now business cards, they've made it very inexpensive. There's online printers, and they often will have these templates. So I mean, if you really just want to make it easy, you can find a template. This would be obviously something that a painter would use. This might be something that a painter would use. But I encourage you to actually make business cards that show the images of your own artwork on your business card. I mean, it's not very much more expensive, and sometimes not even more expensive at all. You just have to figure out how to set it up, or have a friend set it up for you.
It's, especially if you're using like Vistaprint or overnight prints.
Yeah,
There's a place where it says upload your image.
yeah,
And you can, I do advise if you're uploading your image to upload the image and then use, unless you've got a specific font,
yeah,
use theirs, because otherwise it tends to pixelate if
Right.
you just upload the whole thing.
and make sure you're uploading images that are clear and have the right DPI, dots per inch, that they ask for, so you don't get a fuzzy image on your card. But now you can order these cards where you maybe you do have 3 or 4 different lines of artwork, and so you can actually get cards that you would have one for each.
Are these all moved cards that you show?
It says move at the top.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't know if your
Yeah.
slide whether that was moved or not.
So this was the business card that I used for a long time. I just got 3x5 notebook cards made so that I could show 3 different images on it. So this is really what I use for a lot. I make them for the shows, and then I could send them out if I'm going to be at Fall Festival, a month before, I'd send them out to people and say, hey, I'm going to be at Fall Festival, come by and see me, I'm going to be in booth, blah, blah. So websites, again, I think you want to have as strong images as possible, and definitely curate your images. And so Natalie Warren's is a potter whose work I really like. She also has a low fire page and then a wood fire page, so she keeps that work separate. Jennifer Lomers, this is an ongoing series she does, and it just shows her style just with these 9 images. So I think this is actually one of her Etsy pages. This is an example of wearing your artwork. Tara's Instagram feed. So she was one of our artists in residence, and I don't know how she does this, but this must just be her art feed, because it's all art images. She hasn't messed it up with a cute cat photo or something. So a business in town that I'll encourage you to keep an eye out for is Chris Adams, Corvallis. He has created a Shopify site, and he has, not only has he created this site, but he's also created a whole aura of what his business is. Weird and nature. So he's pretty much focusing on mushrooms and oddities. And so his Instagram feed is always about going out and hunting mushrooms, and then places where he's selling the shirts, and where he gets his inspiration. And he also on his website, I should have tried to link into his webpage, but he has a whole story about living in Oregon and the plethora of opportunities there are. And he actually went to to a mushroom festival or last fall, and like was a rock star sales because he's been doing this now for a while and building up his clientele and selling all over the world. So when people, came to this mushroom festival, he had the shirt to sell that everybody wanted to own. So that's another, I think people who've taken my marketing class before, that's another tidbit I have. Look for those niches that are out there for your work. I mean, the Fairy Festival, I hope that's on your goals someday, is a booth in the fair. So, me being a potter of functional wear, I don't think I could go to the Mushroom Festival and kill it selling there. So look for those venues that your work is going to relate to and that people will relate to your work. So the other group that I'll encourage you to follow and just watch and emulate and copy is the Oregon wine industry. They have done such a great job of selling wine to the rest of the country and the world because Oregon, they've created a whole mystique about what Oregon is, and the grapes that are grown here are fantastic. I like wine. I can't tell you that I can always tell the difference between a $10 bottle and a $50 bottle, but they're adding the value to that $50 bottle by creating this whole thing about Oregon. And the very fact that Chris is using that, and the wineries use it, and our own state tourism industry, the motto I think right now is Oregon is for dreamers. Does that ring a bell? Mm-hmm. We all live in Oregon, so if there's a way that fits into the mystique about what you make, use it. And the wine, I will say that the wine industry in the state, just watching what they've done marketing-wise and how much they really get out in front and create an image for the vendors in Oregon is just amazing. So they're a really good example of what you can do if you just keep telling the same story over and over and over to create that mystique. So do people write press releases to get information in the paper about their work? Good. So in the advertising area, there's free advertising and paid. We all know paid, it's ads, but free advertising is, in a way, so much better. So what's newsworthy? Here are some examples of that. So you have a show opening at a new gallery. That's newsworthy, but rather than writing a press release about, name, the dates, what the artwork is, you want to try to figure out that hook about why somebody will want to come see your work. And so that's the piece that's a little twist. Kind of thinking back about how Chris has his, the weird and nature. If you can figure out a way to talk about your show, and this is the trick for us here at the Art Center, because we put on shows all the time, and each show is different because the artwork is different, but we're always trying to figure out why somebody would want to come here. So some of the themes for our shows are art and science based, or it's youth artwork, or it's artwork about, we have a show that's coming up later this spring that is about gender identity and a mother's journey while her child transitioned into a different sex. And so the mother has created this whole body of artwork about that journey that her child took. So there's always, think about what it is that your work is about in your press release, and it may be it's a body of work that you created after spending time on a mountain somewhere, or it's a body of work that you've created that you have the aha that if if you just did this with your work. I mean, come up with the story that makes it interesting. Awards and publications, it sounds, I mean, we get excited about it, but there's always little places on the paper for I think in the GT it's called At Our Best. And then, what's it, something else bulletin. But definitely send in a blurb to those, because I always read those, because sometimes it's my friends and neighbors or family that show up in there.
Another thing you can do is if you've got a local newspaper or magazine or insert,
Yeah,
you can contact the feature editor and find out if they're looking for stories about local artists or
Yeah.
whatever, and you can write one and submit that. That's a lot more powerful than a press release.
yes, yeah. Well, and I will say, our poor newspapers here are, the Gazette Times and the Democrat Herald both are very short-staffed. And you'll notice when you look at the paper, a lot of the articles will say submitted. There's no writer who wrote the article. And so if you can figure out a way to write your article for them and it fits their style and format, they may just print it verbatim, because you've saved them some time. And definitely send images too. Always think about what's new. I mean, if you're teaching a new class, or maybe you just got a fantastic commission, something that's new to you in your career, that's newsworthy too. So, any other thoughts on press release worthy info? Blogs. Do any people blog in here? Yes. And what is your blog about?
Well, it's a silent blog, so it's just Facebook fan page, and so there's regular stuff there, and we've actually found we get much more engagement through Facebook than we do through GT.
Yeah. So it's just regularly posted.
Regularly posts, and it's not just fan stuff, it's about things that would interest readership.
Yeah.
So it's a rich, because that, you do that, and it's ranked higher, and it's at the top of people's news feeds,
Right.
and they engage with it better.
Yeah. So did everybody hear that? He's using Facebook as his main news feed, and I will tell you, Facebook now is probably everybody's go-to news feed these days. I mean, how many people still even get a newspaper? Yeah, I get it. Do you read online?
Yeah.
Okay. I still get a newspaper because I love flipping through the pages, and frankly, you don't see all the ads in the online version. I like seeing who all is still advertising that way, because, you know, frankly, sometimes the Art Center is looking for sponsors or looking for businesses who have that marketing capability, and so I don't want to go to some small business who is just barely pulling it together to have a business, and then ask them, would they want to sponsor a show here? I want to see, they have a marketing budget. Maybe they would like to tie their business to an event that we're doing to grow some visibility with our market to match their market. So the newspaper is where I see where the capacity is for those kinds of marketing dollars. So blogs, I'll encourage you to do blogs. Kat Sloma is a photographer here in town, and she started blogging. I should know that she has maintained a blog for a very long time, and also with her blog she's a mobile photography enthusiast, taking photos on her phone before all of us got into it and got smartphones. And so she was really early talking about how to use your phone to take better images, and then also how to manipulate them and use editing software to create artwork on your phone or iPad. So her blog was all about that, and she decided to have this fun postcard exchange. So she invited artists to send her, I think, 7 postcards, and then she would distribute them out. So if you send in 7, you're going to get 7 back, kind of thing. So she started doing that, and that grew every year. And so as artists started reading her blog and started knowing about the postcard exchange every year, her readership kept growing, 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 until she has thousands of people on her reading her blog. And she got invited, and she does workshops. So whenever she was doing a workshop, she would just announce on her blog, I'm going to be doing a workshop in Portland, I'm going to be doing a workshop in Salem, and people who live in those areas would know, oh, she's going to be in town, I'm going to sign up. And she started the blogging. Not all of us are great writers, but the blogging got her really used to talking about her processes and honed her writing skills. And she got invited to write a book about mobile photography. So because she had all of this plethora of information that she'd already created and just needed to be edited to be compiled into a book format, she got invited to then write the entire book about mobile photography. So I know, not every method is going to work for you, but if you do have any interest in sharing more about your work through a blog, I encourage you to get one up and running, because it is a way to connect with people if that's something that you enjoy doing. And Facebook obviously is now one of the major ways people get their information. So how many people have Facebook pages? Yeah. And do you share your artwork on your Facebook?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And do you make events and posts, like if you have a show, or do you show your work?
Actually, I post on Instagram that's linked to my page.
Right, okay.
On Facebook.
Yeah.
So it posts both places in one.
Yeah. Instagram and Facebook now are the same company, so I think they make it even easier to do that. So.
Yeah, you just have to, when you're doing your post on Instagram, you just have to push the little slider that says share on
Right.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually a new feature on that. You can turn on the settings where it'll automatically post to Facebook.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you have to do the switch.
So again, not everybody wants to be on social media, but Facebook is a really good way to share. And the idea of social media is not just to always be broadcasting things. It's really to be social. So if you have a Facebook page, look around and see other artists who also are doing work similar to yours, and like or subscribe to their page, and comment now and then. Because if you comment and check in with them more often, then they're more likely to check in and comment on what you post too. So it's really all about communicating with people and not thinking about Facebook as just a way to broadcast. It really is a way to connect with people. There's all of the other thing that's nice about Facebook and social media. Instead of putting an ad in the newspaper or getting an article in the newspaper and you don't know how many people have seen or read it, on Facebook obviously you can see with the analytics how many people have seen it, how many people clicked on it, all of those things. So that's really useful information to see where to put your time and effort. I want to give a shout out to Claire. She, much better than the rest of us around here, is really into high quality graphics. So she takes the time whenever she's doing a post to create a nice graphic that makes us look good. so that's something else. You don't have to, I think it helps if you have a graphics background or a sense of design, but they do have now some great, do you use Canva?
I use Canva. So Canva's an online platform that has a free side to it that gives you the ability to use really simple clip art, stock photos, and things like that. You can pay for a subscription, which allows you to use more free items.
How is that spelled for us?
Canva.com.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My brain's elsewhere apparently.
Yeah.
But it's really, really easy to use, and you can download it into different formats.
Yeah. So I think that some of us get really intimidated with Photoshop and all that. And Canva really is intended to make it easy to have a nice design without being, well, they've done the design and for you. It's just plug and play. So, but obviously, if you haven't designed since you know what's going to look right and fit with your business. And then one other thing I'll encourage you to think about. That was a 19-second ad that one of our interns created for us for a class, and we put that online, and the class filled almost immediately. So video really catches people's eyes, and that was relatively simple. She used some stock images and just did a slideshow, and then found some music that what do you call it, trademark free, or free,
Royalty free.
yeah, public domain music that she can, and then timed them so it works as an ad. So even if you don't do something as fancy as this, I've created just little slideshows, process slideshows of my pottery, and just like 10 images of how I've made something and post it as a video, and they get views, and people, and they're very compelling. So I'll encourage you to think about ways that you can animate your images and get them online. Yeah.
The iPhone does it for you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which I didn't even know, because all of a sudden I have these movies. I've gone to a silk scarf workshop, and I taken a bunch of pictures, and then I didn't even know it has a feature. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
And I clicked it, it put it to music.
Yeah.
Did the whole thing. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. The whole that is just amazing. So. Let's see. I'm just So I just wanted to share. This is my little brag. So I set that goal about $10,000 in sales and getting in ceramics monthly. In 4 years, I hit my $10,000 goal, so I reset it to $20,000. 4 years later, I hit the $20,000, and then I set it for $40,000. And by the end of the 90s, I was almost to 40,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we had the little recession at the start of the 2000s. But the setting the goal thing is really good. And 98, I got in Ceramics Monthly with an article. It was a low bar in those days, because all you had to do was write an article and submit it. They don't allow that anymore, but it's worth it to set those goals and then work toward them. So I actually made copies of this goal sheet, but I thought we could talk a little bit about what people do right now for marketing. And then there might be things that you decide, well, I could do that once a month, or once a week, or once every day. So what are some things that people do for marketing every day? Like check Facebook,
Post to Instagram
post to Instagram.
once a day. Because
Yeah.
the more you post, the more likely it is that people are going to see it.
Yeah.
Because they no longer rank by preference, they rank by chronology.
Yeah, so you might say, I'm gonna post something every day. What will you do once a week? And I will say that when I first started working with people in the marketing class, I always encourage people, check your email every day, because people don't always do that. And if you're trying to sell your work, and especially if you're on a platform like Etsy or one of the other sales e-commerce sites, check your email every day, because you may have a customer just biting at the bit to buy a piece from you, or have a question about, can you make that in bigger, smaller, different colors? So do check your email every day. Every week, some goals that I would maybe have for every week or month is every week spend an hour researching galleries, shows, looking at other people's artwork that's similar to yours and see where they are selling their work. So research, you know, the good and the bad about the internet now is we can see so much more. You can research, you don't have to take a trip to LA and go to every gallery and look and see which gallery is right for you. You go online and get a pretty good feel of which galleries may or may not be good for you. You can search galleries in Portland, galleries in Oregon, and pottery galleries or galleries that, you know, so there's ways that you can search, but it takes spending a little time doing that research. So I encourage you to spend a little bit of time every week just researching. And then every month you might say, my goal is I'm going to make 3 contacts to galleries, or 3, or if you have an Etsy shop, every week I'm going to upload 1 new piece to Etsy, or every month I'm going to upload 4 new pieces to Etsy. I mean, set some goals like that so it keeps you regular. And then one of the things I forgot to mention from the very beginning is I encourage all of you to get a marketing buddy, because this work is I used to say in the marketing class, marketing should be, if you really are wanting to succeed, and I think some of the other speakers have shared this already, if you want to succeed with the art business, pretty much half the time that you're working as an artist it needs to be in the marketing of your work.
That goes
Yeah.
right into joining a group that produces art in your area.
Yeah.
Like the artist meetup.
Yeah, the artist meetups are a good place, but you know, even just having a buddy, because when I set those sales goals for myself, that was with an artist buddy who had already set a sales goal for herself of $50,000. And so I said, well, I can't do 50,000. I'm just, you know, but, and so I set my goals a little smaller, but not only did she encourage me to do that, but she was the one who would call me and say, the Bellevue Fair deadline is next week. Do you have your slides ready? You said your slides were horrible last time. Do you have new slides yet? You know, we really kept after each other.
One thing I do is I use Facebook for that. Anytime I set a goal, I will post it.
Oh.
All my friends on Facebook.
Ha.
So they will ask me about it.
Aha.
And I'll set a deadline. This
Yeah.
is my goal, this is my deadline, and they'll ask me about it.
Yeah, okay, well, so there's a good challenge.